A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth in moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome to the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast, where we talk about all things mental health, wellness, healing, spirituality, business tips, and so much more. Today we have a special guest with us, Meghan Lee, founder of Presence Media, a digital agency that supports visionary leaders in creating an online presence of impact while preserving their most precious resource, their state of presence. As a digital marketing strategist and online business mentor, Meghan has been behind the scenes of multiple 6 to 7 figure visionary personal brands, creating movements that impact millions. Meghan is most passionate about reintegrating feminine principles into business, supporting founders in accessing their natural creative potential, and working with modern and ancient technologies to integrate presence into the digital space. And works with the process of vision embodiment, energetics, nervous system regulation, and inner capacity building. So what a beautiful bio. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and your bio is totally aligned with what so many of our listeners are interested in this cycle of their healing and recovery, and especially the feminine polarity, the feminine essence. I thought it would be great to talk a little bit about this podcast on getting back to that feminine essence, the link between the feminine embodiment with business, leadership, and motherhood, because I feel like so many feminines are in different periods in their lives, and whether they are single or married or in motherhood, there's always this craving that comes to start a business or to incorporate parts of their lives, their spiritual lives, in business. So was that a difficult part or a difficult realization to make, to use the physical model of business but to kind of incorporate your spiritual aspects into it?
That's a great question. For me personally, I am a creative, and probably a lot of your listeners can resonate with this. And the feminine is a creative
Yes.
being, right? And so I've always been a creative. I left the womb and I was a creative, disruptive kid from the very get-go. And so when this kind of moved into the season of life, like my late teens and early 20s, this creation began to be channeled into different business entities and structures. I happen to have, I love business. I love the idea of like taking inspiration and turning it into form, and then being able to, I love marketing. I love brand development, like create something beautiful, find real problems in the world. And then, business to me is just something of value that solves problems in the world. And we can make it beautiful with our brands, and we can make it, just so rewarding when it truly is serving the mission on our hearts. But yeah, like the business aspect of it, I find really interesting, and I might be, rare in this. I love the feminine aspects, but I love to look at data and numbers and strategy. And I know a lot of people don't like those things, but I think that when you're truly lit up by what you're doing and you desire to bring it to the world, having an understanding of the principles of business is so important, because it's not just a passion project, right? Like we all want to live the lifestyle that we desire. And so we require money. And so we require to do business in a way that is profitable.
Exactly. That's so true. And the statistic element of it, that offers you measurable, visible things to look at. So you can, work on improving this or improving that. So yes, I totally agree. It's a crucial part of that kind of physical manifestation. And it's so interesting how today it's actually National Inventors Day. So what a beautiful reminder that the feminine can be aligning towards inventing something, towards creating something. And I feel like so many women and men also do have some kind of subconscious fear of leaning into their creative spark. Perhaps there's a fear of failure, which many of us do have to overcome, or kind of process that possible reality. What is your perspective about failure and dealing with the potential, changes, whether it doesn't go as planned or you have to try again? What has failure taught you on the road to business creation?
I feel like I fail every day. And so it just becomes a part of the process. And it's like really reframing the failures as like business is problem solving. And whenever we try something new, like we're never going to get it right the first time. Like that just never happens. And so it's just, yeah, recalibrating our expectations a little bit and understanding that everything new that we do, we're not going to be good as we begin. And as we continue to expand and grow, there's always going to be new edges before us. And so it's really just getting comfortable holding that edge. And at the root, this is nervous system work, right? This is like, do I feel safe in my body as I'm navigating this? Or is this failure like triggering all of this unworthiness in me? Like, is it spiraling me into shame and all of this? And we all experience this to some degree. And this is part of the healing journey, right? Like we come into this world with all of this inherited stuff, and then we get projected on all of this cultural conditioning. And like, we just have all this stuff. And I think when we just like depersonalize it a bit, like we all have this, it never feels good to fail at first. And we can continue to come back in our body and find safety. And if we do that over and over enough, we realize, oh, okay, like I can walk this way and I'm not just going to fall off a cliff. Like I trust the knowing that lives so deeply in my soul and in my body that I have no choice but to follow this truth, right? And when that truth just becomes so strong, failure, it just kind of like falls away. It's not something we focus on. It's happening. But instead of seeing it as failure, it's like, what can I learn from this? What can I optimize? What can I refine here? And that's really the walk.
Yes, I love that. That's a really great awareness in a way to accept those parts of ourselves and our shadow self and try to incorporate that into our daily lives. Because of course, yes, failure is kind of like natural. It's a cycle of life. And it's interesting how you mentioned when we do have that awareness of the failure, that brings, and speaking of working with the nervous system, the chakra system is also parallel to that. And a lot of our listeners are learning about the chakra system and how it plays a role in creation and manifestation. So I think the sacral chakra is a great reminder to balance on that, to work through that chakra, because that's the orange one, the color it's above the root chakra. And that's all about the inner child, the becoming aware of that fear of failure maybe, and going through the emotions, the stuck energies, the pent up frustrations, and kind of moving through the energy and to kind of move past that weak function of the sacral chakra if it feels detached or numb, or if the nervous system is like that fight flight response is not balanced into presence. So we should focus on the sacral chakra when it comes to business. I don't know if you have worked with the sacral chakra, but a lot of my clients who were doing inner child healing work, when they started working with their sacral chakra and even incorporating colors, like wearing the color orange and eating foods that have like the orange color, like an orange even, it helped to inspire new things of creativity. So I think it's an interesting spiritual element, perhaps.
Yeah. And I do a lot of work with the sacral chakra and my energy body in general. And, for me, the feminine medicines of breath, sound, and movement are everything. And really just, and I started and for a long time was like a very neck up human. I did not have sensation in my body. And so it was breath work at first that started to unlock sensation. Yeah. And now I create space every week to, to drop in and to really feel, because when we're moving through the world, it's sometimes, we don't really have that awareness. But when I'm, and I call these ceremonies, like I'll have ceremonies every week where I just sit in my body. I'll be outside in nature and I'll just be curious as to, what's alive in my body. And when it is solar plexus, like it's just that, for me, it kind of feels like just this weight, this like density kind of stuck underneath my rib cage. I find that, like grounding movement and breath into that area is so great. I've been working a lot with voice and sound frequencies lately. I'm doing a mastermind that's all about activating voice for energy clearing. And, this is energetic hygiene. This is like, even if we've done, the inner child work, and obviously it's never like fully done if we still have bodies in this physical dimension, but, this is like, not only do we have our own stuff, we go out into a public space and we collect this energetic debris. So it's so important to like have a regular practice of creating space and sitting with sensation and doing it's alchemy work at its essence, right? It's transmuting density into light. And as a feminine being, we've got access to this as a superpower. And specifically, I work a lot with my cycles. Like there are times in our cycle where we literally can move so much density and be reborn. Like that is the rebirth process. And when we can like start integrating this into how we do life and business, so powerful.
Wow, that's amazing. And even speaking about like the voice and sound healing, it's so true. I grew up dancing ballet, and my experience with sound and music, we didn't talk in ballet. When we're dancing with the music, our movement is trying to sync up with the rhythm of the music. So it's a very meditative, spiritual experience. And as I got older, I started to appreciate that classical orchestra music so much that when I was meeting up with my friends who weren't in the dance world, and I saw the kind of music they listened to, which was, like some pop, some rap, but it was such like a strong, heavy frequency that didn't align with me, that just really doesn't resonate with me, and actually made me a little bit hyper and anxious. Or I started to respect that I just didn't like it, and that's okay. And a lot of spiritual people, especially who are empaths, they're so sensitive to sounds and sound healing, sound rhythm, and they also kind of steer away just organically from this kind of like intense, heavy rhythmic music, and they find a deeper healing with classical music or like orchestra music, and that probably has like a higher hertz. I'm not sure about the hertz exactly, but I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely no expert in music, but I can relate to what you're saying with like some of the heavy metal, like just the frequency of that music. It creates a certain field right around us, and a lot of the like the binaural beats and these higher frequency musics. And I just love like, I don't even know it has a genre, like feminine embodiment music, like that really gets into the body and into the hips, and like that kind of descent.
You can relax.
Music, I find, and I think it really, for me, it helps like really anchor me into my roots and into my hips and into my body. And I know with the voice work that I'm doing right now, we do a lot of toning, and there's different tones for every chakra, so we can direct specific tones to different parts of our body if we're feeling any stuckness there. I mean, it's such a fascinating field, sound healing and frequency healing, and I 1,000% believe in it.
If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner, adult, ballet, and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free. Podpitch is the first and only software that finds, writes, and sends pitches to podcast hosts from your actual email address. Podpitch will make sure you get podcast bookings, guaranteed. Link in the description of the podcast. ClickFunnels easily build any type of online business and sales funnel in record time, no matter what your product, service, or niche, without any tech, design, or experience whatsoever. Try the ClickFunnels 14-day free trial, link in the description of the podcast. Yes, yes. How can women find their deeper feminine embodiment, connection to leadership in all areas in their lives? And I think this is one great example is through sound healing, through finding presence through that higher vibrational tone. Do you have any others that you experienced or that you're aware that it kind of helped you to like ground into your feminine nature aside from music and sound?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually about doing so much less. I find for women, you know, especially like I'm a mom and a lot of mothers out there, like we take so much on, and we just don't actually truly have the space to drop into our body and know what our truth is. And so that was absolutely me. Like I'm very type A, and like I said, neck up living for a long time, very ambitious, goal oriented. And it was around, I mean, I'd been on my healing journey for a while by this point, but it was around COVID where I was kind of like, all right, I don't know what's going on with the world. I'm just like literally going to sit by the river and drink cacao and contemplate. And I spent like a couple of years of, you know, I was still doing things. I was still parenting and running my business and stuff, but like a lot of time just in stillness. And cacao, ceremonial cacao, has been a beautiful heart opening medicine for me. I think the plants are here to teach us so much, but ultimately it's not about doing more or like another practice or adding anything else on. It's about creating the space to just be, to be in our body, and to really access the feminine superpower, which is the gift of opening and receiving. And so it's not the mind being like, this is what I should do. Like, this is, you know, like trying to make it logical sense. It truly is a process of like softening, being in your body, receiving. And then from there, looking out into the world and being like, how am I uniquely positioned to serve right now? Women have always been the ones tending to the community, right? And so we can look at our world, whether that's, you know, our family or our community or on a global stage, and like, everybody is uniquely positioned to serve in some way. And we can connect the dots of our own hero's journey, what we've gone through, what we've experienced, what we've learned, potentially, you know, formal training. And you are uniquely positioned. And so to really tune into that is a process of fully receiving it. And when you receive it, it's like, wow, like it's so overwhelmingly a knowing that you will have no choice but to act. And that's when the masculine comes in, when we are ready to take that action, right? The feminine receives it and then the masculine moves it. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's like not doing another thing. It's like truly just like blocking out your calendar and doing nothing and just being in your body. Nature is such a beautiful ally for this.
Yes, totally. Nature is it's a great way to detach from that external world that feels so hectic and busy, and almost like sometimes when people like are saying they're busy, that just seems they're afraid to connect. So that's been a very typical thing for some people who are afraid to sit with themselves and afraid to find that center. When you're sitting with yourself, maybe you have extra thoughts in the mind that have to be released or have to be integrated, and people are afraid of that. They just feel like being busy is the highest, most successful form of activity and productiveness. But it's actually, if it's busy without like a purpose and without that intention, I feel like it's not totally productive, because in a way it's like avoidance. And many people who have like an avoidant attachment style, they tend to have a fear of opening up and deepening relationships and deepening their connection to the earth and nature. And then of course it becomes more difficult to grow and maintain a business, because there's going to be some kind of fear of moving forward or asking for help where needed, or creating a plan that might seem extraordinary, but it's actually inspiring to create something bigger than you. Which a lot of times those ideas come to us and we have like fear, and we kind of have to go through the process of like Is this too big of an idea? Is this too much of a risk? And those are also issues we have to kind of process when it comes to business or choosing a certain career, choosing a new direction. What would you say to people who are maybe in that category, who feel like they do want to connect their spirituality to business, but they feel like maybe it is too much of a risk, and maybe there is that kind of like thought patterns in their minds that make them hesitant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think there's two things here. I think there's like the inability to drop in and be still and prioritize what's important. That is, on some degree, again, a nervous system survival response of like, you must be busy because of this, right? The
Yes.
amount of people, including myself, like all of us, like what the how available it is to distract ourselves with other things. Like there's no shortage of other things that we could be take on or do or think about. And so it really takes like strong boundaries and discernment, and when it comes to and of course all the healing work that makes us feel safe in our body to be able to do nothing, and that doesn't mean anything about us, right? That's a lot of work. When it comes to taking that step to create a spiritual business, this is where I feel like not everyone needs a spiritual business. You can have a business and be spiritual, right? And
Yes, exactly.
maybe there is a great opportunity for you to, if you're a healer, like create a healing practice. But I wouldn't go that path unless you like to be on social media, and you like don't start a business unless you like business. You truly, unless you have a lot of money and you want to outsource everything to a team, like you kind of have to like business and want to understand social media to be successful in business. Gone are the days you can post something on Instagram and sell a 100K course or whatever. Like we did go through a period where everybody could do that. I think that, there's lots of opportunities to create media channels like podcasts, Substacks, to share your truth and just to share your heart. And it doesn't necessarily need to be monetized. But if you do that and it does get traction and there's like visibility and reach and audience, then again, you're going to have to start exploring the foundations of business to be able to convert that attention into, money and offers. So I would say, like, I've seen so many people leave what they're doing to start a spiritual business, but like just live a spiritual life first and foremost. And then truly, if you're looking for more sovereignty in how you create an income for your life, or, if you're looking to transition from an environment that is maybe stagnating you or that just doesn't feel aligned anymore, before you go and start selling your gifts on Instagram, like this is the opportunity to truly sit with, well, what is my unique expertise? What gifts do I have? What are the opportunities available to me? And so it will take that being able to be still in your body and receive. And then if it does feel like, yes, like I want to, take my energy reading business like big time, well, how are you, like, there's always unique opportunities. They call these like niches, right? Or market positioning. We all have an unfair advantage. And so, like, how are you uniquely positioned to serve a very specific group of people? Or, like, are you from a corporate background? Like, do you have connections that you could bring this? Because, like, spirituality is mainstream now. It's beautiful. It comes, of
Totally.
course, there's a ton of shadow and there's like a lot of other stuff. But like, I know so many breathwork teachers that are going into corporations, and, there's just what used to 10 years kind of be fringe is like, is mainstream now. And so
Wow.
that's so much opportunity for spiritual people to bring their gifts online. But I would say, don't try to start a business with it unless you want to actually start learning how to run a business.
I love that. It's so true. And like you mentioned, it's like finding your value and just go with that. That's such a great kind of like a motto. That's totally true. And actually, speaking of Substack, I wrote down something, you posted this, and I just thought it was so beautiful. And it's speaking about the feminine, and it says, "A felt woman is a voice of experience. She is the truth that lies in ourselves. She is like the warm hug of home." That is just so beautiful, and it brings such healing and such peace to the womb, the feminine essence. And what do you think about the womb and how that plays a role, if big or small, in leadership or in business?
Yeah, a woman who's connected to her womb is unfuckwithable. And so when a woman has taken
I
that
love that.
journey from her head into her heart and into her womb, which is the darkest part of her being, and when she's fully seen and holds all parts of her, you know, she knows truth. I'm getting chills. Like she
Yes.
stands up for what is true and
Yes.
right.
So yes.
And like we need more women that are connected to their womb, because we've been so disconnected for thousands and thousands of years. We've been connected from this power center in our body. And there's a huge wave of women remembering right now. It's very sensational, and the world is changing because of that. Because women are waking up, they're coming back into their bodies, back into their powers, back into their wombs, and they're sourcing that energy within. Like they're no longer looking outside of themselves to validate themselves against some illusion. They're coming into the truth and the power of their body, looking at the world and saying, how can I serve this? So a womb-led woman is grounded, she's focused, she's unstoppable. You can't put anything past her. Like she is a mama bear, like here for the highest good of all. And so womb work, descent work is so powerful.
Yes, that is so brilliant. What a beautiful conversation, Megan. I love having you on the show, and it was a great, inspired, feminine deep dive. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and your gifts and your grace. And where can people connect with you and see your inspiring content?
Yeah, thank you. Probably the best place is on Instagram, at the Grounded Visionary, and then there's links to my Substack on there, which is my channeled writing. That's where I let my womb lead, and I write, what is coming through me. I've got a marketing agency called Presence Media. And that is the place where I serve visionary leaders with their online business management, content, PR, and all the things.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This has been amazing. It's been a great conversation. And yeah, thanks to everyone for listening.